Well, I thank you all for coming out this morning. I really appreciate it. I'm joined today by Mike Hagan here, Vice President of Operations and Engineering at Pinnacle Plastics Products, to discuss H.R. 1763, which is the Responsible Reinvestment Act of 2009, which I introduced last week on March the 26th. You know, no one in this room has to be told that across Ohio and across America that small businesses are hurting. Our economic slowdown is forcing small business owners to make tough choices in terms of laying off employees, reducing production, all this in addition to growing competition from overseas. Small businesses employ half of the private sector workforce in America. There are approximately 5.9 million small business employers throughout our country. 3 out of every 10 American employees receive a paycheck from these employers. Unfortunately, as small businesses continue to bear the burden of the economic slowdown, the administration is making it even harder for small businesses to survive. As the administration prepares to roll back the tax cuts from 2001 and 2003, small businesses will face an unprecedented impact on the way they are structured and how they're paying taxes. Rolling back these tax cuts will trigger an automatic $1.4 trillion tax increase, again with small businesses being affected the most. This policy will place a direct hindrance for growth on small businesses here in the 5th Congressional District and also across the entire country. Raising taxes during a recession will cripple our nation's economy as it did during the Hoover and Roosevelt administrations. To combat the administration's plan to raise taxes on small businesses, I have introduced the Responsible Reinvestment Act of 2009, which focuses on the following areas that I believe will help not only small businesses grow throughout the country, but also help put our neighbors back to work. Specifically, the bill does the following. First, it cuts taxes 20% for small businesses. Second, it permanently repeals the death tax. You know, why the death tax? Well, number one, you know, small businesses are out there and family farms, and they're having to do a lot of planning. They have to plan through attorneys, CPAs, financial planners, and they have to buy insurance in a lot of cases. And what's this all do? Not only is it costing them money, but it also costs them time away from their businesses to do this. So if we repeal the death tax, that would take that hindrance off of them. Third, it increases the expensing for small businesses to $500,000. Fourth, for the full first year expensing for farms and manufacturing equipment. And finally, it gives full deductibility for self-employment tax in relation to health premiums, HSS contributions, and retirement accounts. And again, for those individuals and small businesses, you know, a lot of times that they don't have the ability to have a company type of a plan, and so that they're paying for their insurance premiums right up front. Well, if you're working for some companies, of course, you get that as part of your schedule of employment. The future of our country depends on a proactive approach to creating viable solutions for small business owners to succeed and remain profitable. Small businesses are the lifeline and heartbeat of our nation's economy. Companies like Pinnacle Plastic, family farms, and other companies that we rely on for products and services. Another important issue that's on the horizon is being proposed by the administration right now is what they call cap and trade, or we might also call cap and tax. At first it was scored at around $646 billion. The new scoring on it could be as high as $2 trillion. This cap and tax proposal would cap greenhouse gas emissions from regulated entities and require businesses to purchase permits or allowances for their emissions. The proposal, which imposes the mandates and additional regulations on manufacturers, and it is intended to spur a reduction in the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. I tell you what, I'm really concerned is that it's not only going to hurt manufacturing, it's also going to hurt the families, because these costs are going to have to be passed on to the consumers. And some of the scores that we've gotten on this is the Congressional Budget Office has scored it as much over about $1,650 per year in what you might call an indirect tax on families, while MIT has actually scored it over $4,500 a year. And so the question is, do families have that other $1,650 up to $4,500 a year? The other thing that worries me about it is because, number one, the 5th Congressional District is the largest manufacturing district in the state of Ohio. We're also the 13th largest manufacturing district in Congress out of 435 districts. We start putting these additional mandates on businesses, what's that going to do? Well, you know, if you can't survive here, companies are going to have to make a tough decision, stay or leave. You know, a lot of people say, well, we need to get the Chinese on board with this. The Chinese have already said what they're going to do. They're not going to do anything. The Chinese have a very interesting philosophy on cap and trade. They say, wait a minute, we only produce this, you consume it. So if you're consuming it, you should pay the tax, not the producer, because if you hadn't consumed it, we wouldn't have produced it. So the Chinese this year have become the #1 manufacturers in the world. They've passed us. And so if we can't put ourselves at a disadvantage on cap and trade if our largest competitor out there is going to say they're not even going to abide by it. So my bill has also been co-sponsored by our Republican whip Eric Cantor, and in addition to the Americans for Tax Reform have also come on board. At this time, I'd like to bring up Mike to make a few comments, if he would, on small businesses.